Hey, this is Monique. One more project. This time, a mountain-themed mobile for a very special baby. Now, I know all babies are special, but this one is special to me.
So someone special asked me, "Can you make this mobile?" I said, "Sure." Then I thought, let's find out if that's true. I did have a picture to look at to start from, and that was very helpful. So I used this graph paper and drew the shape that I was going to cut out of the felt because there was no reason in guessing with the felt. And I went around with the Sharpie because that made it easier once I cut them to not completely lose where the lines are. For the snow-capped mountain, I was able to see through this paper and make the top as a separate piece instead of having to chop up the one pattern I had. I found this great thick wool felt that was going to be perfect, and so I pinned on my pattern and I started cutting. I was going to need 3 raindrops, 2 trees, 3 mountains, and 5 clouds. And each of those items needed a front and a back. So in the words of Woody, everybody needs a moving buddy. If you don't have one, get one. Every piece needed a front and a back. So there's the 3 raindrops. Now for the 2 trees, here's 1 tree. Trim it all around. Get it all beautiful. Because after all, this is a very special baby to me. 1 tree, 2 trees. Now 3 mountains. So 1 mountain, 2 mountains, and 3 mountains. Clouds. Need 5 clouds. Had to buy 2 pieces of the white felt. So 1 cloud. 2 clouds, 3 clouds, 4 clouds, 5 clouds, and now the mountain tops. So I used my pattern to make the top edge of the snow cap, but then I didn't use it to cut the bottom edge. How hard was it going to be? I just got the scissors and started chopping on the white felt there, but it was fine. They were fine. So there. Double check. Make sure I cut all the pieces before I move on to the next part. And yes, we have it. We have all the felt pieces. Now it's time to start sewing. I started with a knot at the end of my leather cording, just to help keep all the things from sliding off once they were done. That knot down inside there was gonna just make it a little more secure. So I zigzagged around with a wide, long zigzag and a matching thread color, and then crammed a little bit of polyfill in there to make them just a little bit fluffy. Trim the edges where they kind of did funny poking out on the zigzags, and there we have it. 1 raindrop. Now we have 2. Did you see that? Magic. 2 raindrops, and just another second, and before you know it, I will have 3 raindrops. There we go. Zigzag a little bit. Stuff that knot down in there on the end of the cording. A little bit of polyfill, then a little more zigzagging, maybe a little trimming to keep it neat, and 1, 2, 3 raindrops. All the other pieces are going to be made basically the same way. But let's look at the snow-capped mountain. First, I got to sew on the snow cap. Otherwise, it's just a weird gray triangle. If you happen to notice at the beginning, you'll see it again at the end, the mobile has 5 strings hanging down. And as I built each string, I started at the bottom. Only one of them has a mountain on the bottom. So I sewed it to its cording, and then I left the others for later because they are going to be at the top of their string instead of at the bottom. So there it is, just one that's sewn at the top with the white thread. And now the clouds are the same way. Each of the strings has a cloud, so there are 5 clouds, but only 2 of them are at the bottom. And there are only 2 trees, and they are both at the bottom. So 2 clouds and 2 trees attached to their cording. As we move up on each cord, 4 out of the 5 have wooden beads, and I found painted wooden beads in the jewelry section that were just the right colors I needed, so I just went and bought those. And then I used a touch of super glue. Remember, WD-40 is your friend to help remove super glue. Anyway, I made a knot, used a little super glue. That was just maybe hopefully so that those wouldn't just slide all the way down. The middle one just has the rain clouds and the mountain and no beads, but the rest of them all had the beads. Then I made the rest of them. Sewed around them. I sewed through the cord that was in the middle. I didn't make a new one. I didn't cut it. It went all the way from the bottom element up until it's attached at the arm. Sewed around them, put a little stuffing in there and filled them. And then look at those. Those came out so cute. I just love them. But that wasn't done yet. I still have to make the arm, so let's see how that goes. My raw materials were a dowel caps, and square blocks. But my dowel was bigger than the holes, so I had to make the holes bigger. And did you see how smart I was? Put it in the thing, clamped it all down, made it all pretty, set the depth, then I cut the dowels. I don't know. I just thought it'd be more fun to do that the stupid way. And like, well, how many saws do we have at our house? And I used that tiny little thing. I was just being silly. I should have done that a different way. But it cut through them, and I had made the 4 cuts that I needed to have the dowel sections, and they were fine. Still, I could have done that a smarter way, but I didn't. Sometimes it's fun to do it the stupid way, right? No. So here are my finished products that I'm going to glue together to make the arms. I sanded them a little just to make sure they didn't have anything weird on them, because I was going to paint them. Any residue from the garage, sanded those a little, and then to glue them I put a little bit of regular wood glue, no need for the WD-40 this time, a little bit of regular glue on the end, and then when I put that dowel cap on there, I kind of twisted it as I pushed it on there to help spread that glue around. That way it would be evenly distributed and not squish out too bad. Maybe a little, but not too bad. Then it was time to do number 2, number 3, and number 4. 4, I don't know, they look like microphones or something. I don't know what I'm going for there, but that's what I needed. Time to do the block. I did it the smart way. Put it in the clamp on the drill press, kept it centered, and then I did pilot holes for these eye hooks. Give them a quick sanding. Time to glue again. This time I didn't do as well as not having my glue squish out, but I just wiped it off. I was going to paint and not stain, so a little squished out glue isn't a problem. So once I got all 4 of those arms glued into that center hub, I walked away and let that dry probably overnight. Didn't want to make it a mess before I'd even gotten finished. So I glued those on there and left them to dry. And then it was going to be time to paint. And I wanted to paint it all at one time. So I did. The question was how to hold it when it's wet, got wet paint. I'll show you. I painted all 3 arms that I wasn't holding and the sides of the center hub. But I'd already put in the eye hook. Now I didn't screw it all the way down in tight. I left it out just a little bit so that if I got paint on it, it would just screw in further and hide that paint. But I painted everything that I wasn't holding, and then I moved my fingers very carefully to that eye hook, and I was able to hold on to that eye hook and paint that last part where I had been holding it before. And that worked out well so that I could paint the whole thing at one time. Now you ask, but how do you let it dry without it getting stuck to something when it's all got wet paint on it? Well, I came up with a clever solution for that. A carabiner, and can you guess? Can you guess what did I use? You're never going to believe this. I used the chain on the ceiling fan. Ha ha ha! Now I did give it a light sanding with a 320 grit sandpaper and 1 more coat of paint just to make it cover well. So the final challenge was going to be to make all of these things hang at the same length. So I decided to do a simple overhand loop knot, keeping the fold right there at the 2 inches, and then tightening up against the arm. And that worked out really well. I was worried I was going to not be able to get them all even, but they were. The hardest one was the one in the middle because I couldn't make the loop in advance. I had to get it through the eye hook and then work all those pieces through there. The cloud didn't want to go in there. It wanted to fight me. But I got all of those worked through there. And so the knot ended up being the same. Just how I got to it was a little bit of more of a challenge. There, see? Cramming all that through there. It was fine, I'm sure. But it worked out good. Then I had these long tails hanging where I had made it too long. So I cut each of them to a 1/2 inch and then glued them back to themselves. And that way it kept it secure and it kept it from dangling out funny. It made it stay straight down on the other piece of the string. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times to glue, keeping my fingers from getting stuck too much. Just a touch of WD-40 when I was done to get the residue off, but nothing was stuck to me. That was good. There it is. Special mobile for a special baby.
Thanks for joining. I hope that was fun. Here's something to remember. If we who are evil know how to give good gifts to our children, how much more will the Heavenly Father give to those who ask Him? See you next time.